All right, today we are going to practice some common phrases that you will frequently hear in regular speech, and it would be good to know if you're taking some tests in English because it would show that you have a more advanced command of the language. First, we will talk about the meaning of the word, and then we will do a listening speaking exercise to practice. Oh, wait a minute. I've got to take this phrase off of here. This is one of the phrases, but you're not supposed to see it yet. Where did it go? This is one of the phrases, but you're not supposed to see it yet. Oh, I'm missing something here. Let me see. Oh, wait, let's just keep going. All right, well, no, we have to... Oh. Why does it always happen? Wait a minute. Sorry. We're having a technical difficulty right away, of course. Here we go. Okay. All right, so let's start with the first phrase. That was the last phrase. And the first phrase is high and dry. Have you ever seen that before? Probably not. Or maybe you've seen it and you don't know what it means. But this expression is used when someone is put in a very difficult situation. And I think it means to feel like abandoned or helpless. A lot of times it's used in connection with money. When somebody is left, is left without any money. Well, here let's practice using it, and we'll see how it works. All right, here's the situation. The company is doing very poorly financially, and they will have to eliminate 25% of their employees. They didn't give their employees any warning, and just one day the employees came to work, and the company said goodbye. This is a very bad situation. Can you imagine that? Going into a company, going into the place where you work one day and they just say, sorry, goodbye, no more job, no notice, no compensation, no extra money. They just said, goodbye, sorry, you have to go, no more job. This would be a very bad situation. And this would be a situation when you could say you are left high and dry. The employees were very hopeless, without any money, without any job, without any warning. They were abandoned in a very bad way. The company left the employees high and dry. And from that expression, we can understand that the company abandoned the employees without any money, in an extreme state of helplessness. They were left high and dry. Now let's ask some advice. What should the employees do? What should the employees do now that the company has left them high and dry? What should the employees do now that the company has left them high and dry? Okay, now let's give some advice. Let's give the answer. They should look for a new job. They should look for a new job. Now, instead of saying should, let's use had better. Had better. They'd better. They'd better look. They'd better look for a new job. They'd better look for a new job. How would you make a yes-no question with they'd better look for a new job? They'd better look for a new job. Had they? Had they better? Had they better look? Had they better look for a new job? Let's say look for a new job, no. Look for a lawyer, yes. Right? Because that's pretty bad treatment. Maybe they need a lawyer. No, they hadn't. No, they hadn't better. No, they hadn't better look for a new job. They'd better look for a lawyer. They hadn't better look for a new job. They'd better look for a lawyer. Now, you can say that. You can say they hadn't better. But most people, I think, in modern English would say they better not. They had better not. They had better not look for a new job. They had better look for a lawyer. They'd better not look for a new job. They'd better look for a lawyer. All right, let's try another example, practicing how to use this phrase, high and dry, which means abandoned, helpless. A lot of times it means no money. Here is a situation. John was supposed to meet Lucy at the airport and drive her home. We can use the phrasal verb pick up here. John was supposed to pick up Lucy at the airport. He was supposed to pick up Lucy at the airport and drive her home. But John had an accident. He had a car accident. And now Lucy has no way to get home from the airport because she doesn't have money. So she's in a very bad situation. John left her high and dry. John left her high and dry at the airport. And now Lucy, we know Lucy is at the airport saying, what do I do? What can I do? I can do nothing. John left Lucy high and dry at the airport because she's in a helpless situation there. Now let's make a what should Lucy do question. What should she do? What should she do now? What should she do now that John left her high and dry? What should she do now that John left her high and dry at the airport? Let's give advice. Take a taxi. She should take a taxi. Now let's change that using had better. She had better. She'd better take a taxi. She'd better take a taxi. But we know that's a bad idea because she doesn't have any money. So let's make a yes/no question with she'd better take a taxi. Had she better take a taxi? Let's say take a taxi, no. Call her brother, yes. No, she hadn't better. No, she hadn't better take a taxi. That sounds nice and correct, but in modern English, most people would say she better not. She better not take a taxi. She'd better not take a taxi. She had better not take a taxi. She'd better not take a taxi. She'd better call her brother now that John has left her high and dry at the airport. All right, let's move on to the next phrase, which is through thick and thin. Now, this phrase means the good times and the bad times. It's usually used when you're talking about the faithfulness of a relationship. With some type of relationship, it could be a personal relationship, but it could also be the relationship with a company or a group of people. Let's see how we can use this phrase through thick and thin, which means in the good times and in the bad times. Here is a situation. There is a company in very bad financial condition, and they gave their employees an option. You can leave the company, or you can take a pay cut. That means a reduction in pay. They will pay you less than normal. So your options are you quit, or we pay you less. We don't pay you as much money. Mary decided to stay with the company, even though it meant that now she would make less money. Let's make a why Mary decide stay with company question. Why did she decide to stay? Why did she decide to stay with the company? Why did she decide to stay with the company? And the reason is she really loves the company and she thinks it's a good company and she has a sense of duty towards the company. She decided that she would stay with the company in the good times and the bad times. Now, what is another phrase that we can use that means in the good times and the bad times, through thick and thin? She decided to stay with them, to stay with the company. She decided to stay with the company through thick and thin, in the good times and in the bad times, which are now. She decided to stay with them through thick and thin. Let's make a "what should Mary do" question, asking advice for Mary. What should she do? What should she do now that she has? What should she do now that she's decided? What should she do now that she's decided to stay with the company? What should she do now that she's decided to stay with the company through thick and thin? And here's the answer, because now she's going to make less money. Find a roommate. She should find a roommate. Let's use had better instead of should. She had better. She'd better. She'd better find a roommate. She'd better find a roommate. Let's practice using thick and thin with another example. Lisa and John are married, but they are having a lot of problems with their relationship. Let's make a "how will fix problem" question. How will they? You know, when you have how plus will, it sounds like this in conversation. How will they? How will they? How will they? You can't write that. That's not a contraction that you can write. But that's how it sounds. How will they? How will they? How will they fix? How will they fix their problems? How will they fix their problems? Let's answer this how question with the preposition by plus ing. By seeing a marriage counselor. So you know when people ask you a how question and you want to explain, many times you can answer with the preposition by plus ing. By seeing a marriage counselor. They will fix their problems. They'll fix their problems. They'll fix their problems by seeing. They'll fix their problems by seeing a marriage counselor. Seeing a marriage counselor. Okay, let's change this to a suggestion with should. They should. They should see a marriage counselor. They should see a marriage counselor. Now let's use had better instead of should, and it will mean the same thing. They had better. They'd better. They'd better see a marriage counselor. Now let's make a why question with this sentence. So our sentence is they had better see a marriage counselor. Make a why question. Why? Why had they? Why had they better? Why had they better see a? Why had they better see a? Why had they better see a marriage counselor? Here's the answer. Because they promised each other to stay together always, both in the good times and the bad times. They promised to stay with each other during the good times and the bad times. What is another way that you can say during the good times and the bad times? Through thick and thin. They promised to stay together through thick and thin. They promised to stay together through thick and thin. All right, this is easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Let's do the next one here, which is touch and go. This is another common phrase that you will encounter if you're using English a lot. It's usually used in risky or unpredictable situations where the result is not clear, where the result is unsure. It's kind of like, think about first you touch the risky thing, you touch the unthing, and then you see what happens, and then you react to it. So it's a situation where you can't plan. You have to just do things as they happen, and see what the result is, and then you react. Let's practice using it. It will be more clear if we practice using it. Here is a situation. Lisa has a full-time job and she has 3 children. It is impossible for her to make plans. Every day is unpredictable. She never knows what she's going to do. So you can say that her daily life is touch and go. She does something and then she waits to see what happens. And after something happens, she does a different thing. She can't make plans. She's always just reacting to what's happening. So her daily life is touch and go. Let's make a what should do question. What should she do? What should she do to make her touch and go life easier? Imagine that's difficult. If all you do is react to everything instead of making plans, that can be very difficult. What should she do to make her touch and go life easier? Let's recommend find a babysitter, but let's use had better. She'd better find a babysitter. She'd better find a babysitter to make her touch and go life easier. She'd better find a babysitter to make her touch and go life easier. All right, let's try another example using the phrase touch and go. Here is another situation. Mary is starting her own business, but she really doesn't know what she's doing. She doesn't have a plan. The thing that she does is she just does one thing and then she waits to see what happens. She waits for the results and then she reacts to that result. She is taking a touch and go approach to her business. She does something, she waits to see what happens, and then she makes another move after that. That's a touch and go approach to her business. Let's make a what can do to improve business question. What can she? What can she do? What can she do to improve? What can she do to improve her? What can she do to improve her business? I just noticed that Hadi Hasanatari has asked, she'd better not take a taxi or she had better... The question you're asking about better not is, the correct way is had better. You should always say had better. That's really the phrase, had better. But it's very, very common that people do not use had and they just say better. So the first way that you have it, she better not take a taxi, is very common, very typical, but it's wrong technically. If you were taking a test and you wrote that, then you should be marked wrong. The correct way is she had better. She had better not take a taxi. So, but everybody says it the first way. Probably I do. I just don't even notice it. It's wrong though. It's not the right way. You should say had. All right, so let's make a what she can do improve our business question. What can she? What can she do? What can she do to improve her business? What can she do to improve her touch and go approach to business? Let's answer, she hire an advisor. Let's recommend that with had better, had better. She had better, she'd better, She'd better hire an advisor. She'd better hire an advisor. Okay, but most people would say she better hire an advisor. It's wrong though. It's wrong. Okay. Let's move on to the next phrase here that we've got. Let's see. And that is the phrase time and again. It's a pretty common phrase. You'll see it quite a bit. You'll hear it quite a bit. And this phrase puts the emphasis that an action happens repeatedly. Let's practice using it in sentences to see how it works. Here is a situation. Mike receives challenging projects at work. And every single time he gets a difficult task, he does an amazing job. If we want to emphasize every time he does an amazing job, we can use this phrase time and again to mean it happens repeatedly. It happens every time. And it makes it strong. It gives it emphasis. All right, so we can say time and again, he does an amazing job. That means repeatedly, always, all the time. Time and again, he repeats that. Always, he repeats that. Time and again, he does an amazing job. Let's make a what should company do question. What should the company do? What should the company do with Mike? What should the company do with Mike? Let's recommend they give him a raise. And let's use had better. They had better. They'd better. They'd better. You see what happens? You make that contraction they'd, and you say they'd better, but then you get lazy in conversation, and then you just say they better. They better give him a raise. That's very normal, but it's wrong. They better give him a they'd better give him a raise. They had better give him a raise. They'd better give him a raise. Let's make a why question. Why had they? Why had they better? Why had they better give him a? Why had they better give him a? Why had they better give him a raise? Or why'd they better? No. Why'd they better give him a raise? No, it's better if you say had. Why had they better give him a raise? Here's the answer. Because time and again, he has done an impressive job. That means repeatedly, again and again and again, time and again, he has done an impressive job. They'd better give him a raise. They'd better give him a raise because time and again he's done an impressive job. All right, let's try another example where we use time and again, which means repeatedly, again and again and again. Lisa is a singer, and she is a very successful singer. Every song that she sings becomes a big hit. Let's use time and again to emphasize that she is repeatedly successful. Time and again, her songs become hits. Time and again, her songs become hits. Now, let's make a recommendation to the music company that sells her music. They should keep her. Keep her. They should keep her. They should keep her. Now let's use had better. It will mean the same thing, but let's just practice using had better. They had better keep her. They'd better keep her. They'd better keep her. Now let's make a why question. Why? Why had they? Why had they better? Why had they better keep her? Why had they better keep her? Why'd they better keep her? And here's the reason. She repeatedly makes hits. She always makes big hits. Time and again, she makes hits. Time and again, she makes hits. They'd better keep her because time and again, she makes hits. All right, I guess this is a short one. We've just got one more phrase. That's a little disappointing. I at least like these to last for an hour, but this is like half the time. And that is first and foremost. Have you ever seen that one before? First and foremost. It's similar to using the word first, but there's a big difference. When you use the phrase first and foremost, you are emphasizing number one. This is the first thing, obviously, but also number two, it is the most important thing. So you have to do this, whatever it is. So that's the difference between saying first, which just means this is the first thing, but you're adding this, it's also the most important thing. You must do this. You have no option not to do it. All right, so here, let's try a situation, and that is Lisa is designing her first website, and she asks John for advice. Now, so let's make a question. What first step to design successful website? That's the question we want. What's the first step? What's the first step to designing? What is the first step? What's the first step to designing a successful website? And here's how John answers. You should think about user experience first. You should think about user experience first. Let's change that using had better. You had better. You had better think about. You had better think about user experience first. You'd better think about user experience first. This is a good sentence, but what if we want to emphasize that user experience is the first thing that you should think about, but also it's the most important thing to think about? If you don't start with user experience, it will fail. So you must think about this. You have no options. You can use first and foremost. You'd better think about user experience. You'd better think about user experience first and foremost. And now we understand that this is the first thing and the most important thing to think about. All right, let's try another example using first and foremost. Meaning the first thing, but also the most important thing. Mark is starting a business, and he is asking Lucy for advice because she understands his market. Let's make a how can be successful in his business question. How can he be successful in his business? In his business. How can he be successful in his business? How can he be successful in his business? How can he be successful in his business? Here's how Lucy answered. He should make low prices a top priority first. He should make low prices a top priority first. Let's use had better. He had better make low prices. He had better make low prices a top priority first. He'd better make low prices a top priority first. This sentence is fine. It means this is the first big step. The first big step is low prices. But if we want to make sure that he understands it's the first big step, but also the number one most important step, then we should use the phrase first and foremost. He'd better make low prices a top priority first and foremost. And now we understand, yes, it's the first big step, but also it is the most important step. It's very important. Low prices. All right, well, that was pretty quick. That was a quickie. So I think next time I'll try to make sure we've got something more, because I like to do at least 1 hour. That's kind of short, 30 minutes. All right, but thank you everyone who stayed and watched. And I will be back soon with another video today with a different topic. All right, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.